Okay, we can review. So we had a very deep look into classes this week. We are learning important concepts that will help you understand object-oriented programming, but also develop classes in a very professional way. Okay, so we talked about UML and how UML helps us understand with diagrams, class diagrams, to see how objects can interact with each other. Okay, we discussed this ATM object and how it can display the balance by leveraging the bank account's getBalance function. We briefly talked about the this pointer, and that's how the compiler can know that we are talking about the class instance in memory. And we also went ahead and covered static variables and how a static variable can keep its balance across different object lifespans. For example, here 3 different objects were created and removed from the stack. However, static memory initially 40 increased to 90 and then 80, so it kept its balance. It was never reset to 0. Okay, so that was the static variables. We were also introduced to the concept of friends of classes, and these friends were the free functions, and we created some examples for this. And our example started with a friend display balance, where we could use this free function to access the private balance of the bank account object. If we go and look at our code for that free function, we can see that we have access to private data. If I can just, let me use this here. I don't have my mouse with me. Okay, there we go. This is what I wanted to bring up. So notice, if it's a regular free function, we have to use the getBalance function. However, if we use a friend function like this one, this is a friend function that will be able to use cout, which is out, and an instance of account, to get direct access to a private data member. Here we do not want anyone to change. Well, actually, that's not the one I wanted to show. That's the overloaded operator. So let me, sorry about that. See, this is what I wanted to bring up, right? So we have the friend display balance, and we have the bank account, and we have friend display account. And notice here, we are accessing the private balance of account. This one is 2, but this one's overloading operator, right? Which is another concept we cover, but we'll touch base with that in a little bit. We went ahead and introduced working with classes and header guards. Make sure you use them, right? I'll bring them up in class again. And how an ATM object can use the bank account object. And we started with a very simple example where the ATM simply gets the balance using the bank account's getBalance function. We started simply by having this function defined and a constructor, and use the bank account's getBalance. However, we went ahead and made that function better, that class better, by adding some real world functionality, right? Using private functions, we created a getValue from database function, and then we changed our constructor to no parameters, and we have a vector of objects, a bank account object specifically, where we create 5 bank account objects, and we use the private getBalance from DB function to get the balance for each bank account, and that private function uses a randomizer to give us a different balance, just to mimic a real world scenario. Okay, we also talked about the concept of friends of classes, and we talked about the branch back friend class example, where we actually create a new class, and then we use that class to modify. Let me bring it up here. We use that class to modify the bank account's static bank balance variable, just to show you that not only can free functions access private data as friends, but class functions can too, right? So that was what this example was all about. And then we introduce the concept of operator overloading, where we can have C++ understand code like this, where account is a bank balance object, bank account object, sorry, and it'll know how to display the code, mainly because we've written code to help the compiler work with that, right? So if we are overloading the cout or ostream functionality, we go ahead and say cout overload display just to show you that, yeah, we are doing it, and we access a private balance, and then we return out. And we went ahead and did the same thing for cin with the isstream operator, where we have cin treat a bank account object like it's regular types, like integer, double, and what have you, right? So we can say cin account, and when we say cin account, this code will run, and then we will be able to save, type in a lot of code to initialize our, or not initialize, to give meaning to our data variables with cin functionality, okay? And finally, we introduced the concept of adding objects with plus, and I think I did have an example for that up here, where we create an instance of bank account named A1 and A2, and then we can say, hey, bank account, you are equal to object A1 plus A2, and what the compiler does, it adds 100 and 200, and the balance for account is 300. And if we come and look at the code, it executes this code, right? So we get the balance from A1 and the balance from A2, sum them, use them as a begin balance for a new bank account object, and we return that bank account object. And that's how we were able to have C++ treat our user-defined types as fundamental types like integer, double, and other types, right? Okay, so we will get to enumerated types and the member-wise copy, but more importantly, make sure you finish reading chapter 11, because we will talk about inheritance, protected access, constructors, class function overriding, and we will more than likely get into more advanced concepts in programming like polymorphism. So please go ahead and read chapter 11, finish reading that, and let me double check on the next chapter also, hold on. And the chapter you will want to read is the chapter on pointers, okay? We will talk about file input and output, but not right now. Read about pointers, that's chapter 10. And I'll also talk about smart pointers to give you a, well, hold on. Yes, apologize. It is chapter 10. Make sure you read it. And we will get introduced to the reference operator's cousin, the pointer. So please make sure you read chapter 10, and that'll get you ready for this week's lectures. Okay, so again, that's it for now. Thank you.